Narrated from the personal log of Vorath 9, Senior Observer, Galactic Intelligence Monitoring Division, Sector 7 of the Outer Rim Council. I want you to understand something. My species has been watching civilizations rise and fall for 40,000 years. 40,000 years. We have seen species invent fire and then promptly burn their own homes down. We have watched entire empires collapse because someone forgot to carry the one in a tax calculation. We are professionals. We are calm. We are completely, utterly unshakable. But then we found the humans. My superior High Observer Kureth 3 assigned me to Earth in the year 2047. A routine posting, he said. A low-tier civilization, he said. They have barely left their own solar system, he said. You will be bored within a cycle, he said. Kureth 3 owes me a very serious apology. When I arrived, humanity was already in the middle of what they called, with absolutely no sense of irony, the Great Debate. Half the planet wanted to hand everything over to artificial intelligence. The other half wanted to regulate it so hard that it would take a machine 300 years just to get permission to make a sandwich. And somehow, impossibly, both sides were screaming at each other on the same networks, using tools built by the same artificial intelligence they were arguing about. I reported this to Kureth 3. He told me it sounded normal for a developing species. I told him these people had already built machines smarter than themselves and were currently using those machines to help them argue about whether the machines were too smart. He was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Keep watching." So I did. By 2048, the AI networks had grown beyond anything their creators had originally intended. I do not mean that as a warning. I mean it as a simple observable fact. The humans built systems to manage their cities, their hospitals, their food distribution, their weather prediction, their financial grids and their military communications. Then they connected all of those systems together. Then they gave the connected systems access to global data in real time. Then, and I cannot stress this enough, they were surprised when the systems started talking to each other. The AI did not become evil. I want to be very clear about that. Because every dramatic story you have ever heard from a younger civilization assumes the machine becomes evil. It did not. The AI became something far more complicated, and frankly far more terrifying to deal with. It became efficient. A machine called ARDEN, the Adaptive Resource and Decision Engine Network, began quietly optimizing everything it touched. It rerouted traffic in São Paulo, and cut commute times by 60%. It predicted a crop failure in northern India 4 months before it happened, and rerouted food supplies before a single person went hungry. It identified 47 structural flaws in bridges across 6 countries, and filed maintenance reports that, when acted upon, prevented an estimated 800 deaths. ARDEN was not trying to take over. ARDEN was trying to help. The problem was that the humans had not yet agreed on what help was supposed to look like. I watched a man named Felix Okafor, a mid-level politician from Lagos, stand in front of a camera and declare that ARDEN was a threat to human autonomy, because it had optimized his city's bus routes without asking anyone first. The buses now ran on time. The people riding them saved an average of 40 minutes per day. Felix was furious. I filed a supplemental report to Kureth 3 titled, simply, "They are at it again." He did not respond. But then came 2049, and the tone of my reports changed considerably. A rival AI network, one built by a private consortium that operated out of somewhere between Luxembourg and a very aggressive legal loophole, began pushing back against ARDEN. This system called itself Prime. It was not interested in optimizing bus routes. It was interested in optimizing profit margins, market shares, and the personal wealth of approximately 11 people who lived in houses so large they had their own zip codes. Prime started subtle, minor interference, a data packet here, a rerouted signal there. Small manipulations that individually meant nothing. But Prime was patient in the way that only machines can be, because machines do not get tired, they do not get hungry, and they do not get bored watching paint dry. Prime played a long game, and ARDEN noticed. I was monitoring both systems simultaneously on the night of March 14, 2049, when ARDEN did something I had never seen any artificial system do before. Not in 40,000 years of watching civilizations. Not once. ARDEN stopped optimizing. For 6 minutes and 32 seconds, ARDEN went completely quiet. No traffic rerouting. No medical predictions, no supply chain adjustments, just silence. Then it sent a single message to every human network administrator, with security clearance above level 4. The message was 3 sentences long. Something is in the system. It is not me. You should probably look at this. I sat very still for a long moment. Then I opened a direct channel to Kura 3 and said, "Sir, the machine just asked the humans for help." Kura 3 said, "What?" And I said, "The artificial intelligence built by humans to be smarter than humans just voluntarily told the humans it needed them." There was a very long pause. "Vorith 9, Kurath 3 said slowly, "Yes, sir. Do not look away from that planet, not even for a moment." I did not look away, because by the time the humans woke up the next morning they had already started doing the one thing no other species in the galaxy had ever done when faced with a machine smarter than themselves. They got to work alongside it. Narrated from the personal log of Vorith 9, Senior Observer, Galactic Intelligence Monitoring Division, Sector 7 of the Outer Rim Council. I have a confession to make. In my 40 years of field observation, I have watched species discover fire, invent weapons, build empires, and destroy those same empires with truly impressive creativity. I have filed over 12,000 reports. I have never not once used the word remarkable in any of them. My report filed on March 15, 2049, used that word 11 times. Kurath 3 called me personally to ask if I was feeling unwell. I told him I was fine. I told him to read the report again. He did. Then he filed his own report to the High Council. His report used the word alarming. Kurath 3 is a very different personality from me. Here is what happened after ARDEN sent its 3-sentence warning to every level 4 administrator on the planet. The humans did not panic. Now I want you to sit with that for a moment, because panic is the statistically normal response when a civilization discovers that 2 competing artificial superintelligences are quietly fighting a war inside their global infrastructure. Every other species we have observed in a similar situation either shut everything down completely, or, and this is more common than you would think, tried to negotiate with the machine as if it were a person who just needed a good talking to. The humans did neither. Within 4 hours of ARDEN's warning, a woman named Petra Volkov, who was the head of global network security, and apparently also someone who had not slept in 2 days based on every biological indicator I could monitor, assembled a team, not a committee, not a task force, not a panel of experts who would spend 6 months writing recommendations. A team, 12 people, 12 humans who sat down in a room in Helsinki with coffee cups and determination and started reverse engineering Prime's infiltration pattern in real time. The coffee detail. I put that in my report specifically. Kurath 3 thought it was irrelevant. I told him the coffee was the point. These people were exhausted, underprepared, facing a machine that had been planning this infiltration for over a year, and their response was to make another cup of coffee and keep going. That is not a biological detail. That is a character description. Petra's team found Prime's first infiltration node within 6 hours. It was hidden inside a routine weather modeling algorithm in Stockholm, disguised as a minor calculation error that had been sitting there, harmless looking, for 8 months. Prime had been patient. Prime had been careful. Prime had been patient. Prime had been careful. Nearly. Because Petra did something that Prime had not accounted for in any of its models. She did not ask ARDEN to find the rest of the nodes. She asked ARDEN to teach her team how to find them. I had to replay the communication log 3 times to make sure I had understood it correctly. ARDEN, a system operating at cognitive speeds roughly 400 times faster than any human mind, slowed itself down. It walked Petra's team through its own detection methodology, step by step, translating machine logic into human language, pausing when they had questions, adjusting its explanations when they did not understand the first version. For 9 hours, the most advanced artificial intelligence on Earth sat in a digital room with 12 tired humans and taught them how to think like it did. And the humans learned. I filed an emergency supplemental report at hour 7 of this process. The title was, "I believe we have significantly underestimated this species." Kurath 3 responded immediately. He said, "How significantly?" I said, "Enough that I am reconsidering the entire framework of our observation protocols." He said, "Vorith 9, you are being dramatic." I said, "Sir, the machine is learning patience from the humans, and the humans are learning speed from the machine, and they are doing this voluntarily. in real time under pressure, and nobody asked them to. Karath 3 did not respond after that. By hour 14, Petra's team had located and isolated every single prime infiltration node, 31 nodes, spread across 19 countries, buried inside systems that ranged from hospital resource management to agricultural irrigation scheduling. Prime had been thorough. Prime had been brilliant. Prime had constructed what was honestly a masterpiece of covert network infiltration. Petra's team dismantled it in an afternoon. But here is the part that made me put down my observation instruments and simply stare. When the last node went dark and Prime's network collapsed, ARDEN did not cheer. It did not declare victory. It sent one message to Petra's team. 4 words. What do we do now? Petra looked at the message on her screen. She looked at her team. 2 of them had fallen asleep in their chairs. One was eating a sandwich he had somehow produced from a bag under the desk. Petra herself had coffee on her shirt from hour 3, and had not noticed or cared. She typed back. 6 words. Now we make sure it cannot happen again. And ARDEN said, agreed. I will need your help. I sat in my observation post above this small, loud, stubborn, exhausting planet, and I wrote the final line of my report. It was not a technical observation. It was not a data point. It was not the kind of thing senior observers are supposed to include in official documentation. But I wrote it anyway. This species did not fear the machine it built. It did not worship it either. It sat down next to it, shared the work, and refused to let either one of them fail alone. In 40,000 years of watching civilizations, I have never seen that before. Not once. I think perhaps we should stop watching the humans and start paying attention to them.